Well, hello friends. Welcome back to Browser Hacking. Today we are going to continue working on Discord support in Serenity OS, and we're going to investigate what's going on with the checkbox on the main invitation page for our server. So let me show you what's up with that. And since last time, I've been doing a whole bunch of work on layout. So the ACID 2 test, for example, has a number of progressions over the weekend, and other people have been helping out with JavaScript and various web stuff, some of it for Discord, some of it for other sites. But the community effort definitely continues. The main difference that you can see here on this page is that the Serenity OS label is now right next to the partner icon, which was previously not the case. This text here used to be far out to the right. So that's just a little thing that I fixed over the weekend. But today we're going to investigate the checkbox here and the fact that it doesn't really work and see what we can do to make it work. So I guess what we will start with is just checking out the DOM for this page. So let's go ahead and find it. It would be somewhere under here. Okay, now we're getting closer. All right, should be somewhere here. Okay, so we have a label with an input inside of it. This is an input type checkbox. Yeah, this guy right here. So it appears to not have any metrics or any size, because you see that when we click on label here, it shows us that the label has size, but then this input thing here has no size. So if we dump the layout tree and then search for checkbox with matching case, we can see that we have a checkbox layout node right here, and it has 0 by 0 size. So that's definitely not entirely correct, and probably something that we can fix. And then it's interesting that it's inside of a label. So because even if the checkbox itself is not has 0 size, we should be able to click on the label and still activate the checkbox. And I wonder if that works. Also, we're probably supposed to create some kind of event or fire some event when you click on a checkbox. And I could imagine that that's not happening because, well, I think the general problem with this page as it is right now is that we cannot click on continue here. This button is disabled. And I guess that's because they want us to choose a username and check the I have agreed to the terms of service, blah, 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 checkbox, right? So until we can do whatever we're expected to do here, this button remains unusable for us. So today, let's construct a smaller test case here for just the scenario where you have an input inside of a label, and then just verify quickly that we're able to enable to toggle the checkbox. Type checkbox, label for a checkbox. Just the basics like this. Checkbox HTML, sure. Okay, so the checkbox works. The label does not work. Okay, so that's definitely something we should fix. And then let's also figure out what kind of JavaScript events show up if we click on the thing. So get element by ID or no, by tag name. Input. Add event listener. So I guess change. Oh, shoot. Apparently this crashes the poor web content server. Interesting. So I guess that we crashed in the parser somewhere while I was typing this. That's kind of not great. Also, it seems like we have gone into a infinite recursion spiral here of some type. So that's also not great. Anyway, let's just go ahead and disable the preview. All right. Yeah, this needs a little love, it seems like. Yeah, let's do this. Okay. And then checkbox HTML. Oh, right. I can't open that because it's not unveiled. So let me go ahead and hack the web content service to allow me to access files in my home directory. Not really how we like to do things in the sort of release version of the system, but for debugging, this is pretty useful. So again, let's see, checkbox. Okay, so yeah, the change event is happening. Actually, let's open this up in Firefox. Localhost. Just browse into my Serenity instance here casually. Checkbox.html. That didn't go super well. Oh, maybe this doesn't work. I feel like that worked at some point. Let me try this again. Yeah, that works. So it's just broken in Firefox. This page works. Checkbox.html does not work. All right, well, we are not going to debug that right now. I'm just going to use Chromium here. So what's up is, clickety clickety. I guess we need to bring up the debug console. Yeah, so when we click that, we get the event showing up right here. That's good. Okay. But for us, of course, here it works to click on the label. So that's something that we need to look into. And I guess we could also log the state of the checkbox. So let's see. This makes me realize that we don't have right-click open with, like, it would be sweet to be able to open in text editor here, not just like double-click to open in browser, which is sweet. But if I could right-click open in text editor, that would be super sweet too. But let's not get sidetracked. So we'll just do it the old-fashioned way. All right. So I wanted to log not the event, but rather the state of the checkbox, I guess. So checked. Is that how it works? Okay, so now we're logging. You can see right here, it says true, false. All right, and same thing here. Yeah, that works. Okay. Also, I wonder if the checked attribute shows up on the input type. No, it doesn't do that. Okay, so that's just, I don't know. I remember from the olden days of early HTML that like you put the checked attribute on something, sort of like this, and then it made it pre-checked. That didn't work there. It did work here. Oh, so more issues with our checkbox. Okay, so there's actually a whole bunch of things now that we need to fix with checkboxes, I guess. So let's just write them down so I don't forget. Checkbox issues. Checked attribute should pre-fill. We have the label, clicking label should toggle, and checkbox size 0 by 0 on Discord. Yeah, so these are, unless I'm already forgetting something, these are some of the issues we have here. So let's start with clicking on the label should toggle. That should be easy enough. So this doesn't work. Let's figure out why. Label. Well, label.cpp is definitely a thing. HTML label element. So we have that, and it indeed creates a layout label. And a layout label is a block container, sure. All right, so if we dump out the layout tree for this thing right here, for example, what does that look like? It looks like this. Okay, so we have HTML body, and then we have a label, label box right here, and the checkbox is inside of it. But that doesn't work. Okay. So what does this thing actually do? So we create one of these things, and then we have handle mouse down on label. Sounds promising. So wait, who wrote this code? Did I write this code? I didn't write this code. Okay, that's why I don't recognize it so much. So let's see. So when you click on it, we fetched a control node. I guess that's the sort of the associated control of this label. Sure. So we fetch the DOM node 4. 4 is the for attribute. Oh, okay. And if it's empty, then we return control, which will be null at this point. Sure. Okay, so if there's no for attribute, then we return null. So I would think I would rather write this in this way because it's a lot clearer what's going on, right? Okay. And then we will walk the entire document layout tree looking for labelable nodes. And if we find one whose ID attribute is our for attribute, then that's our control node. Okay, so I guess the way that you would use this is you would say something like label for I, and then you would give this an ID I. Okay, let's try that again. Yeah, that works. Okay. So we only support the for attribute situation. I guess we can, let's look at the HTML spec for this. See what they say. The label element. All right, the label element represents a caption in a user interface. The caption can be associated with a specific form control known as the label element's labeled control, either using the for attribute or by putting the form control inside the label element itself. Aha. Okay, so first things first, let's rename this API here and put a spec link. So instead of control node, we'll call it labeled control. Yes. Okay. And then let's see. So either we have the for attribute, and then let's see. So instead of exiting here, I guess what we should do is if, let's see, we would do something like this. So if we have the for attribute, then we will look for it in this way. And then if control return control. Yeah. But if we have something inside of it, then what should we do? Except for blah, 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 for attribute may be specified, blah, blah, blah. If the for attribute is not specified, but the label element has a labelable element descendant, then the first such descendant in tree order is the label element's labeled control. Okay, so if it's not specified, I see. So if it is specified, I think we have to do that. Otherwise, if it's not specified, so let's put this and let's add labelable to the dictionary. That's that's a lovely word to say. Labelable. Labelable. Okay. So the first labelable element descendant in tree order, the way that we get that is, do we have first descendant of type? No, we have for each in subtree of type. Labelable node. Okay, yeah, that's probably what we want. So labelable node. And then we can just do something like control is labelable node. Return iteration decision break. Yeah, so we stop on the very first descendant because this will traverse all of our descendants of a specific type in tree order. So we can just break out on the first hit. And then we will keep this there so we can use it. All right, and then fix me, the spec also allows for associating a label with a labelable node by putting the labelable node inside the label. Yeah, that's what we just did. Okay, so that's actually really straightforward. Let's see. The for attribute, let's see what it says about the for attributes. It may be specified to indicate a form control with which the caption is to be associated. If the attribute is specified, the attribute's value must be the ID of a labelable element in the same tree as the label element. In the same tree. What does that mean in this context? A finite hierarchical tree structure. Okay, so it's like in the same DOM tree. If the attribute is specified and there is an element in the tree whose ID is equal to the value of the for attribute and the first such element in tree order. Wait, what? The first such element? Oh, I guess if you have multiple with the same ID, which is very unhygienic HTML, but sure. If it is a label element, then that element is the label element's labeled control, right? So just for good measure, let's bring in the spec comments here. I think that's a very nice habit that we have in our browser and JavaScript implementations, that we bring in spec comments like this so that you can always reference them directly. Okay. Yeah, so let's see if that works. Now we should be able to click on the text now. Checkbox HTML. And just to confirm, did I cheat now? Oh, no, I still have the for attribute. Okay, I have to get rid of that. All right. So getting rid of this and that. Yeah, it still works. Great. So actually, you know what? Let me open Discord here in Firefox so I can get a DOM inspector up and running. So let's see. People kept telling me to use the block selector thingy here. So let me do that. Oh, wait, we don't actually have the checkbox here. I'm getting a slightly different page. Huh. Well, all right. Forget about that. We will simply load it up here again. And just want to make sure that we are checking the same type of situation. But this seems very reasonable. So let's see. Let's make a commit here. Okay, I don't want to make changes to random GML files right now, so that's kind of annoying that you are changing those. I guess it's the pre-commit hook doing it. Ugh. All right, hold on. I'm just gonna put these into a hacks GML formatting for some reason. I don't know. I have to fix this after I record, but get that out of the way for now. So now we just wanted these guys. Yeah. And what do we say here? So support implicit or label support label implicit label targets. The HTML spec says, or no, we already supported label 4. Input id. Actually, for clarity, let's write it this way. This patch implements the other labeling mode where first labelable element, first labelable descendant of the label element becomes the labeled control. I see, by the way, that we are churning through the CPU here in the background. I guess we're still having a bunch of issues with especially the request server getting sort of pegged and just burning through CPU while not loading the page. Sometimes you have to restart the load. Something we need to debug at some point. All right, now we're loading a little bit better. Hopefully, yeah, here we are. Okay, so let's get a DOM dump so we can see the checkbox. Okay, so here's our input, and it's inside of a label. And then we have some text here further down. I have read and agree to Discord's terms of service. Sure. But I wonder if this actually works. I guess we can probably confirm that by putting a, what was it, mouse down something. We can just print something out when we click on a label. Handle mouse down on label. So here, let's print something out. Mouse down on label. And then we will say the labeled control is this guy. But I feel good about this change so far. Having support for checkbox labels is kind of a no-brainer. It's kind of strange how the checkbox control in HTML is just a checkbox, whereas in virtually all other GUI frameworks, you have an associated label. Like in HTML, you have to provide the label yourself separately from the checkbox. Anyway, clicky, clicky, mouse down on label. Yeah, so that totally works. And just to verify that we can now activate the thing. Oh, what did you not like? Looks like a DNS lookup crash. Or no? Yeah, lookup server. Failed to look up PTR record and then we crash because of that. That's not super great. We should probably teach that thing how to handle lookup failures without crashing. And then now we are, oh, I thought we were burning the CPU, but no, we're good. Okay. So what did I want to see? I wanted to check that just clicking here activates the checkbox. Which just does not do. Okay. Why doesn't it do that? Also, maybe we should have inspect element. Don't we have inspect element? We do have inspect element. Why haven't I been using that? We had that all along and I've just been sitting here manually opening the tree. Well, I feel stupid. I was just going to say, maybe we should implement inspect element. Then it's already right here. Dang it. Should have known better. Okay, so let's see. We have a label here with an input inside of it. So it should be tied to it. And what's this div? This is an SVG. So maybe there's an SVG covering the checkbox actually. And then we have another div with another div inside of it, which has the text. Oh, so maybe actually, maybe we don't support the case where there's like nested content within the label. So what if you had like div, like that, right? Also, why does the preview look so goofy? It's a bit weird. Okay. Yeah, now it doesn't work anymore, but let's check if that works in Chrome. That does work. Yeah, okay. So we have to support that as well. Because what did they say in the spec? Yeah, they said has a labelable element descendant. So any descendant, like the first descendant is the labeled control. And then I guess everything inside of the label becomes a label for that control. So wait, what currently happens here? When we handle associated label mouse down, then we are in checkbox, I guess. Or no, wait, I'm not looking in the right place. Handle mouse down on label. So who calls that? Text node. Okay, so you're clicking on a text node, and then we check if we don't have a parent, or if parent is not a label, then we return. Oh yeah, right, this is not gonna work. So if we dump out the layout tree here, we can see that the text node, this guy right here, comes from this text node, which is the one that we're clicking. His parent is this block container, so not a label. And then the block container's parent is the label. So this check here is bogus. What we should instead be checking is first ancestor of type label. So if we don't have a first ancestor of type label, then we are not in a labeled subtree or label subtree. And then actually, I guess we can write this like this, maybe. Yeah, this will be a bit nicer. And then like that. And I bet you there's more of these, of course. Wants mouse events. Okay, so this one is wrong too, right? Because as long as the text node is anywhere inside of a label subtree, then we want text node mouse events. Okay, handle mouse down, same crap. If no label, return. Otherwise, label handle mouse down on label. Okay. Let's see. It works. All right, so now we can click on this guy right here. Perfect. Let's see if that fixes the label on Discord as well. I feel like now there shouldn't be anything standing in our way. We have the label and there's an input type checkbox right inside the label, first child, and then we have two nested divs with the text inside the innermost one, and I was spinning there, so let's just restart. Come on now. It's weird. Usually after a reboot, request server doesn't start spinning, but if you do some stuff and then try to load a page, it's just some silly thing happening. Need to track it down, of course. Okay, clicky clicky, mouse down on label. All right, so that's working. That's so cool. It doesn't look any different visually, but it's a start. So let's see. Let's commit here. Git commit, libweb. Wait, are there more of these, by the way? Parent is label. No, I guess not. So, what do we say here? Allow clicking on, allow label activation via anything, alt, any descendant of the label node. Yeah. Previously, we were only forwarding the activation to the labeled control if the user clicked on the first child of label on an immediate child of label. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What do we do next? Okay, so clicking label should toggle, so that works. Checked attribute should prefill. Might not be relevant for Discord, but I feel like we can still do it. So let's see, HTML input checkbox spec. Take me to the spec, checked. All right, and the checked content attribute is a Boolean attribute that gives the default checkedness of the input element. When the checked content attribute is added, if the control does not have dirty checkedness, the user agent must set the checkedness of the element to true. When the checked content attribute is removed, if the control does not have dirty checkedness, the user agent must set the checkedness of the element to false. Okay. So I feel like there's a concept of dirty checkedness here that we do not implement. Each input element has a Boolean dirty checkedness flag. Aha. We can add that. So input element, bool m dirty checkedness. Checkedness or checkedness? I guess it's false by default. And let's go ahead and link that here. All right, and there's also the checkedness. Most for control have a value and a checkedness. Wait, why am I calling it checkedness? Dirty checked. Checked, dirty. I hate the name dirty checkedness. It sounds so dumb. Dirty checkedness. Or do I hate it, or do I kind of love it? I don't know. I'm starting to like it. It didn't take long. Let's bump the copyrights since we're here. And then let's edit in some support for dirty checkedness. So when we get the, it must be false when created. It must be set to true whenever the user interacts with the control in a way that changes the checkedness. All right, so set checked. When the user interacts with the control, aha. So let's see. I guess we should then have some kind of a way to indicate whether this is a user originated change or a programmatic change. Change source, let's say, check source. Okay, programmatic or user. Okay, change source. All right, so if the user toggles it, it becomes dirty, right? So whatever we do, if change source is, let's see. Whenever the user interacts with the control in a way that changes the checkedness. Okay, so if the user tries to click, like if the user originates some change, but the change is a no-op, then we will ignore it and not set the dirty state. Otherwise, if change source is change source user, true, right? Yes, so let's note that here. Okay. And then where do we actually call this? I guess somewhere inside libweb, set checked from checkbox, for example. So this is like when you're clicking on a checkbox, then that's going to be a input element. Wait, where did I put that check? Change origin. Change source. User. There we go. Yeah, it's a little bit of a mouthful, but I think it's important that we get this right. Likewise, when you click on the label, that's also a user origin check. Radio button, set checked within group. Same thing there. And this is radio button. Yeah, same function. Set checked within group. Mouse up. Yes. So interactive. Whenever you're interacting with the layout node, we're not going to programmatically toggle check state via the layout tree. Programmatically would go through the DOM element. So everything here needs to be change source user. Okay. And now that we have that state, what do we do with it? The check content attribute. When it's added, if the control doesn't have dirty checkedness. So this kind of, I think this exposes the fact that we don't actually learn when attributes are removed. Remove attribute. When we remove an attribute, we don't notify the element in any way. I guess we could. We could say something like did remove element, did remove attribute. Did remove attribute. Name, something like that. That would be a good thing to have, along with parse attribute, which is sort of like did add attribute, did remove attribute, by string const. By default, it can do nothing, but we will override it here on the input element. So did remove attribute. Okay, and then what do we do? Let's see. When it is removed, so I guess first we got to check here if name, or first let's actually call up to parent. So we are a form associated element. So form associated element did remove attribute name. Sure. And then if you're removing the checked attribute, let's see this thing right here. If not dirty checkedness, then checkedness is false. That's a programmatic change. I wonder if we should fire an event when that happens. I feel like we shouldn't. Not exactly sure. checkedness. Anyway, it doesn't say anything about it, so maybe what we should be doing is just I mean, we can always find out what others do, actually. So let's see. Let's make a little test page. So we'll have something like checkbox, and we'll have this, and then we will remove it and see if that fires an event. Not auto. Okay, so get the checkbox and then add event listener, check for change event. Change event. Okay, so if I just click on that, I get change event. Sure, that makes sense. But what if I were to i.remove attribute checked? Then I don't get a checked event. Okay, so I shouldn't make the thing show up. Or I shouldn't fire an event in that case. Set checked. That's interesting. So if you do like i.checked is false, checked is true, none of these things change it. Very interesting. So maybe we should only raise it programmatically, or only fire the change event. Change event. Event named. Where does it say fire an event? Fire a change. Fire an event named change. Okay. The input activation behavior is to run the following steps. Let's see. What is the input activation behavior? If this element is not immutable and is not in checkbox state and not in the radio state, then return. Okay, so this only happens for checkbox and radio inputs. Then we run these. So wait, so when do we run the activation behavior? That's a DOM. That's a DOM concept. Okay, sure. Activation. It runs both for both user-initiated activations and for synthetic activations via element.click. Well, damn it, there are so many so many different situations here. So I guess maybe I'm getting way ahead of myself, and like when the user agent must set the checkedness of the element to false and not fire an event. So maybe this guy right here needs some kind of run activation steps enum as well. I feel like my factoring here is not good. I mean, this part makes sense because the dirty checkedness should only be updated when the user interacts with the element. Set checked. So I guess I'll just add run activation behavior. Should run activation behavior. I guess yes by default. Okay, let's just invent that enum. I just want to make sure that we are reasonably correct about this stuff. All right. So that's the part where we do the event dispatch. So if that's yes, the activation behavior for input elements are these steps. So actually, let's put that into a separate function because it's also talking about where's the checkbox? Right here. I had another event here. Yeah, input. And it has event flags and stuff, and we're not setting those. So we can actually improve here, I think. Run activation behavior. Maybe this should be an event target concept. Since it's in the DOM standards, like each event target object can have an associated activation behavior. The activation behavior is passed an event as indicated in the dispatch algorithm. Interesting. This exists because user agents perform certain actions for certain event target objects. For example, the area element in response to synthetic mouse events whose type attribute is click. Web compatibility prevented it from being removed, and it is now the enshrined way of defining an activation of something. Okay, glorious web stuff. So let's just power through here. So we'll just add this as a we'll just go word for word, sort of. Input activation behavior. Run input activation behavior. And we'll put that here. And I guess we could also we could be cool and just add that to event target. Why don't we do that? That seems fair enough. Let's do it. Virtual void run activation behavior. Yeah, just like that. And let's bump that copyright. Virtual void run activation behavior override. That doesn't need to be separate. Or maybe that's nice. Okay. All right, nice and tidy. So our input element activation behavior was supposed to do what? It's this thing right here. If the element is not mutable and is not in the checkbox state, okay, so I think we will put fixmes here because we don't track state. Which we should, but we don't know about state yet. Like we barely support any input types yet, just text, submit, and checkbox. So it's a lot of work ahead of us on supporting input elements better. Anyway, run input activation behavior. Okay. And then let's find everybody who calls this guy. Make sure that they say run, should run activation behavior. This is a programmatic change. We should not run the activation behavior. This is a user change, so we can actually say HTML input element. Oh, that's the default actually, yeah, so we can just leave that alone. Yes. Okay, so that's actually fine. Cool. Wow, I'm getting a little bit mixed up with everything. What were we even doing originally? We were doing the checked attribute should prefill, right? So we added the did remove attribute virtual. So now let's also check the parse attribute, which we don't even override yet. That's sort of the, it's roughly like did add attribute. It's just called parse attribute instead. And why can't I overwrite that? Because it's hidden in my parent? Is that so? No? Here? Parse attribute protected. Wait, what? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Hides overloaded virtual function. Oh, different number of parameters. Oh, I'm just being stupid. Yeah, it needs the value of the attribute as well. Parse name value, sure. So if we get checked attribute, when the checked content attribute is added, okay. If the control does not have dirty checkedness, the user agent must set the checkedness of the element to true. So if no dirty checkedness, then set checked true. Change source, programmatic. Should run activation behavior, no. All right, I feel reasonably good about that. We can test it out, but it seems reasonable. So then we had a mutable. Each input element can be mutable, except where otherwise specified. An input element is always mutable. Similarly, except when otherwise specified, the user agent should not allow the user to modify the element's value or checkedness. Always mutable. So when is it not mutable? Oh, look, lots of reference links. So do we have a checkbox somewhere here? I don't see a checkbox. Read-only attribute. Oh. When specified, the element is not mutable. Interesting. So I guess, yeah, we could have, we'll eventually add some kind of is mutable that checks for the read-only attribute and stuff like that. Anyways, we don't have to do that right this very moment. So let's see, here's our checkbox. Now what did we want to check here? I guess the checked attribute is present. For some reason, nothing shows up in the preview. Maybe that's because of the JavaScript. But yeah, it's pre-checked. So that is correct. And then if we remove the attribute, so remove attribute checked, it's removed, but no event. That's good. Set attribute, checked to empty string. Aha, but no event. Okay, yeah, I feel good about that. So that was a lot of code to just get that one behavior, but let's see, let's commit this. So we'll start by just adding the did remove attribute callback. Did remove attribute callback. This allows, or virtual. Some classes to learn to react to attributes being removed. Okay. And then event target, run activation behavior. Yeah, we can just add that as a separate thing, libweb. Add event target, run activation behavior. I feel like maybe I should have added a spec link for that actually. Just to note, yeah, let's do that for good measure. Event target, run activation behavior. Yeah, there we go. I have to eat a rebuild, but it's okay. All right, and then all of this stuff to handle the checked attribute coming in and out. Libweb make input type checkbox react to checked attribute. Honor the checked attribute. Yes. Implemented according to spec, although it's very possible that I missed some one or two details. Yeah, it's one of those things where like maybe we missed a detail and it will show up later. We'll have to figure it out, but in general, it's good to just get sort of general behaviors into the engine so we can iterate on them. Okay, so if we go back to our list, checked attribute now prefills, clicking the label should toggle. The checkbox is the wrong size on Discord, so I wonder what's up with that. The one thing I remember is that it said it was positioned, so maybe it's like a position absolute or something like that. Wait, the build is failing? Why? Okay, mysteries of the build. Thankfully, we have Ccache, so rebuilding is not painful. All right, so wait, what? I've been blocked? Oh, come on. Well, seems like I've been doing too much of this. Let's see. The website is using a security service to protect itself from online attacks. Well, seems like that's a little bit of an issue. You can email the site owner to let them know you were blocked. All right. Well, that's a problem. Does that mean that I'm screwed here as well? No. Although now I get this page instead of the... So now I have the checkbox. That is interesting. So how does this work? Very interesting. I guess I've been reloading it too many times. We'll give it a rest. So what is going on here? Let me use the thingy. Okay, so there's an input right here. And then what about that SVG that I think is on top? It's right here. If I delete that, Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess I can probably, maybe I can bypass the URL shortener and just go straight like this instead. Let's try that. Request server crashed. Now what? What on earth? Things are suddenly taking a strange turn here. All right. Let's see, I want to do this. Discord.com/invite/SerenityOS. Yeah, this still works. So they just don't like me at the URL shortener anymore. I'm sorry, Cloudflare. I don't know what I did, but probably something about our HTTP client that they don't like, maybe. Or maybe they just think it's weird that I'm using this shortener over and over. Who knows? But I wanted to look at the layout tree for the check. Oh, right here, checkbox. It says positioned. So now that we have it up here, I don't know how I got it up in Firefox, by the way, but that's extremely handy. So what can we learn about this? Let me see over here. Position absolute. Okay. So that's just about positioning it to the left there. Okay, so I would love it if we could reproduce the problem with the 0 size checkbox somehow. But at the same time, I feel like maybe it's time to call it a day. Okay, so that didn't break it, although clicking in it is weird because it doesn't react when I click on it. Sometimes it does. Oh, that's so strange. Can I get a layout tree dump maybe? Size 13 by 13 positioned. Yeah, it's really bizarre and unreliable. But if it's not position absolute, yeah, then it works every time. So definitely some kind of problem there. Anyway, I feel like maybe it's time to give it a rest here anyway. So let's call it a day. We made some good progress. We now have support for label elements activating their corresponding or their associated label control. We did the input checked attribute so that we honor and preset the check state, and we also have the dirty checkedness thing so that I guess we never played with that one actually. Let's check quickly that that works. But yeah, there's definitely more to do here, but let's see. I feel like the preview in text editor doesn't work correctly all the time. I don't know what's up here. By IDI. Okay, and then I guess we can make a button or some kind of... What is it that I want to do exactly? I guess I want to click on it and then verify that it can't be programmatically unchecked by... Yeah, so let's do this, and then let's give ourselves a timeout where we have, say, 5 seconds to uncheck it, and then it will try to recheck it programmatically, and it won't work, if I understand this correctly. Yeah, so it's checked, I uncheck it, and then after so and so many seconds, it remains unchecked, right? Actually, I guess that was a weird thing. I can also do it that way. So if I leave it alone, it will become checked eventually. Yeah, there we go. But if I check it and then uncheck it, now it has a dirty checked state. So it shouldn't be able to become checked when the attribute is added now. Yeah, so that actually works. That's good. And maybe let's also see that that works the same in Chromium. So if I check it, uncheck it, it shouldn't become checked, even if it gains the checked attribute here. Yeah, it didn't become checked. But if we leave it alone, it eventually gains the checked attribute and becomes visually checked. Okay, cool. Yeah, so let's call it a day. I feel like that getting booted off of the discord.gg thingy was a sign that it's time to stop. So if you made it this far, then I thank you for watching and for hanging out. I hope that you saw something interesting today, and I really am having a good time with this Discord project, taking small steps little by little, moving forward. That's what it's all about. So thank you very much for hanging out, and I will see you all next time. Bye.